24th of May 2023, and in this edition of This and That and What the Fuck Else, I'm going to focus on one single topic, and that is that Belgorod invasion. Now, the fall of Bakhmut came as almost a shock to most Western residents, because the media was pumping and hyping that whole Bakhmut thing to such an extent that the casual observers were 100% sure Ukraine is going to retain Bakhmut. And when Bakhmut eventually fell, and it became public knowledge that Bakhmut has fallen, the Ukrainians, Zelensky specifically, realized that he was now in trouble, because the PR hype around Bakhmut was something out of this world. And Bakhmut was basically the reason why the West pumped weapons in and poured money in like hell. And they had to make sure they had their citizens on their side. So the lies were spread thick and fast. But it was inevitable. But before I continue with this, I'm going to give you a little slideshow to give you a glimpse into what the Russians are fighting for. Enjoy it. Now that is just a glimpse into what the Russians are fighting for. That is part of Russia. That is their motherland, and they will defend it with everything. But let's continue. So after Bakhmut fell, the Ukrainians knew that they had to do something to take the attention away from that. And the Belgorod invasion was planned. Now, the Zelensky supporters, and especially my pet Nazi, he was absolutely over the moon and about that invasion. He called it an invasion. And he made a big story about the fact that there were Russians in that invaders group. But let's be realistic. Every country in this world, every country, has got opposition people in their midst. People that don't like the government. And those people, some of them are extremely militant. And it is not a secret that a number of dissidents moved from Russia to Ukraine. And they formed a resistance movement there. Those resistors were very closely connected to the Azov people. And, okay, let's leave it there. The estimates that I have seen is that there's about 600 of them. And the FSB is fully aware of who they are, and I'm pretty sure of around about where they are. But let's get back to Belgorod. So, some of these resistors and some of the Azov brigade decided they're going to invade Belgorod region. And they went over the border with armored vehicles and one tank and drones and things like that. And the estimates that there was about 100 people. And they struck those small villages quick and fast and hard. There's quite a few residents in that area that got seriously injured. I think there's 3 dead. And there are also nuclear silos in that area. And they used some of their drones to make an attack on those silos, which obviously failed. And the local police and the local Rosgvardia units responded to the invasion. And the Russian Air Force came in and gave them air support. So initially it was the Rosgvardia, which is the regional protection services, security services, and some FSB agents and some Spetsnaz members tackled these invaders. This was a straightforward terror attack. And that is where the issue starts. Now the Ukrainian PR machine was running at full speed. And it was unbelievable the number of articles that were posted, almost like an avalanche. And they washed over Telegram to paint this as an invasion. And that those guys are going to take control over that Belgorod region. But a few hours later, the facts started trickling in. And the realities, and then the photographs started coming in. The initial shots that the Ukrainians posted showed them where they were at the border post, and they were painting on the walls with paint. This is for Bakhmut and shit like that. And they damaged some buildings, and it looked very impressive. But by late afternoon, the Russian forces were busy making life difficult for these invaders, and they started fleeing. All their vehicles were destroyed or captured by the Russians, and the current body count that I've seen is of the estimated 100 people that came into Belgorod. 79 was killed, and a few was injured and captured, and about 10 or 15 managed to make it back over the border, and they're back into Ukraine. Now here comes the problem. This is now a PR nightmare for the West, because this was a terror attack. There was no military installations and things that they attacked there. Yeah, a few drones that they sent towards the nuclear silos, but okay, there was no military setup that they attacked, and they didn't engage the military. The Russian forces chased them down and hunted them. They didn't attack the Russian forces. They terrorized the citizens of Belgorod. But now we're sitting with a situation. There was American vehicles used for an invasion into Russia. And the PR, the optics, doesn't look so good. You can see already the Western media is trying to patch this up. They don't know how to do it, because to the rest of the world, it is now looking like the West is supporting terror attacks. The West is now basically a terrorist operation, because it was Western vehicles and Western weapons that has been used. And I personally think that the Ukrainians made a hell of a mistake with this thing, But let's listen to some snips. This is the first one. There was a journalist cornering Joseph Borrell, Jungle Joseph, and the journalist asked him, Belgorod in Russia, the Belgorod Oblast, because Joseph mentioned Belgrade and he acted stupid. But this is what is with this. Borrell is not stupid, not either misinformed. He knows very well what's happening in Belgorod. Nazis with NATO training and weapons have crossed the border and attacked villages of the Russian Federation. The EU is funding and covering up terrorist campaigns. And there is the nasty part for them. The EU is funding and covering up terrorist campaigns. And then let's go down to the shithouse in Washington and listen to this. I will say that we're skeptical at this time on the veracity of these reports. Matthew Miller, the spokesman for the US Department of State, about the US provided military equipment used during the raid into the Belgorod region. Now, that is some masturbation happening there. And then we have this. Ukrainian attack over border with Russia. The optics of the US armored vehicles with Nazi Germany Wehrmacht crosses on them, crossing into Russian territory to kill Russians, only lends further political capital to Moscow for additional mobilization of the Russian society, industry and economics. It helps shake people in both Russia and abroad off the fence and into the realization that there can be no future for a NATOized Ukraine. This is very important to take note of. Things are not going well for the West with this little adventure. And then we have this. And this is for that American that says there's no proof that their equipment were used. Colonel General Alexander Lapin, Deputy Commander of the Joint Forces Group of the Special Military Operation, in front of a damaged US-made Max Pro armored fighting vehicle seized by the Russian troops in the Belgorod region. You cannot deny it. There is the evidence. And I'm going to show you a little slide show of more equipment that the Russians destroyed and captured. And if you look carefully, there's no denial. There is American vehicles among that. Take a good look. No matter how much spin they put on it, the facts speaks for itself. Then we have this. The United States did not give permission to the armed forces to transfer the provided equipment to third parties. Pentagon spokesman Patrick Ryder said in the context of information about the possible use of American weapons in an attack in the Belgorod region. We did not approve any transfer of equipment, and they did not request the transfer of equipment to paramilitary structures, Ryder said in a briefing. At the same time, he was unable to confirm the authenticity of the distributed photographs with American armored vehicles. Now, what is important here is that those Nazis that were so jubilating on Telegram and saying it was Russian dissidents that were attacking Belgorod. I mean, that pet Nazi of mine was jubilating as if these guys were on the doorstep of Moscow. I mean, he even told me it's now a matter of days and Putin is gone. But in any case, that's his problem, not our problem. The fact is, this proves that it was the Ukrainian forces that went into Belgorod, not some dissidents. Because how would dissidents get American equipment? And why was there Azov people with them? So, but let's see where this is going. This is a nothing burger for the Ukrainians, and it is going to devour them internationally because the West's reputation has been tarnished severely, and the rest of the world is already taking note of this, that the EU is sponsoring terrorism. And then we have this: burned fighter of the armed forces of Ukraine near the burned out armored vehicle at the Belgorod border checkpoint. The price of a PR attack with the motto, "For Bakhmut." As a result, they screwed up Bakhmut and lost a bunch of equipment during the invasion of the Belgorod region. That is what you must take note of. The facts. They tried it. I mean, there were some of them were actually saying that parts of Russia has been conquered. I just shook my head and I thought, wow, you guys are really dumber than I thought. But this was a clear incident where the PR machine got the overwhelming win, and then on the ground they got their asses whipped. In any case, let's end it with something pretty to look at, and this is for the guys. This is an excellent image. I love the lighting, I love the crop. It is a beautiful shot. Enjoy it. Appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Thank you for helping me to grow the channel. Please give me a like and a subscribe, and it is really important, the likes, and share the thing. The platforms are not helping me. They don't like my message. So please share it. Thank you. Have a great day.